Revo's here from Revo's the Wolf. We're talking about the House of the Dragon episode 6, The King and the Queen. So this episode, I love this episode here, but it started off a little weird. It starts where you hear some moaning. Uh, you kind of wonder what's going on, but you end up finding out it's Rhaenyra. She's in labor, struggling to push out one of her children that she's pregnant with, and she seems to have a pretty tough go at it. But the baby's born, and as soon as the baby's born, they one of the maids tell her that Alicent is summoning and wants to see the baby. Rhaenyra ain't even push out the afterbirth yet. She's like, "I'm gonna bring the baby," and just as she starts trying to bring the baby, the afterbirth comes out. She has to push that out as well. They didn't get a chance to even cut the umbilical cord. They had to like snip it and kind of wrap something around it. Like this baby is fresh out of her, and she has to go um bring the baby. Now, this episode they do change the two actresses for Rhaenyra and Alicent. They're now older. It's a 10-year time skip. So a lot of things has changed. The actress for Alicent looks almost, you can see that being a natural progression for her. She looks like, it's funny, she looks like Alicent older, where Rhaenyra not so much. But anyway, Laenor comes in. He asks if she's okay, asks how the baby is. Everybody's looking at her like, bro, you serious? She just had a baby. What do you mean? Are you in any pain? And Rhaenyra, they're walking through damn near the whole castle because they're on the other side. And as she's struggling and she's walking through the castle, they put a cap on the baby as soon as the baby was born, for it to travel through the halls. The cap falls off, and Rhaenyra notices the baby's hair is brown, which is that's not the color of Laenor Velaryon or her being a Targaryen. Their signature hair is white, so she knows her secret's out, and everybody's looking at. She's trying to climb the stairs. They get to Alicent's chamber, and Alicent sees the baby, but surprised to see Rhaenyra's bringing the baby. And one thing to notice, Alicent is still wearing green, which is, as we found out in episode 5, this is the war colors or wartime colors for the Hightower family. She's still wearing green, so she's still in war mode. But she is concerned about Alicent and surprised that Alicent brought the baby. She didn't, Rhaenyra brought the baby. She didn't think Rhaenyra would bring the baby, but Rhaenyra realized she's doing a power play and like, I'm going to bring this baby to you. And she looks at the baby, notices the baby hair color. At this time, Rhaenyra comes in. Oh boy, he's going through it. This dude's hair, he's spotted up. He done lost an arm. He's you just feel horrible for him as he's walking around, and he kind of got a limp, and he's holding the baby while they're still talking. So she asks Laenor and Rhaenyra, "What are you gonna name the baby?" He says Joffrey, which is his lover that died on episode 5. Rhaenyra's not happy about that, and so she looks at him and said, "We didn't discuss it yet, but they said that the baby's gonna baby's name gonna say Joffrey." So as it goes on, as she hands the baby back to Laenor, she gives him she's throwing jabs at him, saying, "Oh, I do hope you keep trying, and maybe one of these times these babies might look like you." Oh, she's being so petty. Oh man. And he just takes it like, because it's obvious these are not his babies. And so it goes on where we see the next scene where they go back to the room, and you see her other two children. She has 3 children now. None of them are Laenor's. They all have this curly brown hair. And you see a man, which is Sir Harwin Strong, And as soon as you see him, it's obvious these are his babies. So these two, Laenor and Rhaenyra, continue arguing about the baby's name. Harwin asks to hold the baby. She motions to let Harwin hold the baby, and Harwin starts holding the baby, and he's smiling, and it becomes apparent these are his kids. Now, the scene after that, we see Rhaenyra and Alicent sons at the dragon pit for their son Jacaerys training to get his dragon, which name is Vermax. And so the maesters are trying to get him to stand up to the dragon, to bond with the dragon. But the dragon just sniffs and look at him, and he's like, wrong! And just roars at him. But with them continue to push him, he is able to get the dragon to listen to him, as he said, Dracarys, and he smokes the goat and ends up eating it. Now, Aegon, which is actually Alicent's son, older son, and Rhaenyra's younger son, they tell Aemon, which is Aegon's brother, they have a surprise for him, that they have a dragon for him to train. But as they bring him closer to the edge of the pit where the dragons come from, you see it's a pig with they stuffed stuff on the side like bootleg wings. And they said it was the pink dread. And they mock him because he's the only one now out of the sons that don't have a dragon. He's feeling bad. So as everybody is kind of congratulating, I'm gonna call him Jack. I'm not doing the Dracarys, his name. As they congratulating Jack, he goes down into the dragon pit, and he gets startled by a big dragon in the back. I don't think you ever hear the dragon's name. Starts blowing fire at him to like kind of startle him. One of the guards is able to get him out the pit. Now we fast forward here, and Alicent is speaking with her daughter, Helaena. The chick, for some reason, is fascinated with bugs, and the guard tells her that the son Aemon was in the dragon pit and got caught, and he tells her how Aegon and the other kids, well, he didn't mention, he actually left his brother out. He just said that they were mocking him for not having a dragon, and he had to go get a dragon. So she runs off to Viserys to talk to him about. She makes it seem as if it is just Rhaenyra's children doing this, and luckily Viserys sees and he says, "You sure it's not? You sure it's not Aegon? It's just Rhaenyra's kids." So she kind of brushes that off, but you do see that even he's aware that her oldest child kind of lightly bullies his brother. But she brushes it off, talking about how she's even amazed that they can get the eggs to hatch. And in true Viserys fashion, he initially tries to blush it off like, I don't know what you're talking about. So she says, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And he clears the room. Like, you know, the accusations you make, they can have dire consequences, which is basically him saying, you need to leave this alone. So now she storms off. She's pissed because she's, as she said, she's had to hold her tongue, which means she's broached this subject to him before. She storms off with Sir Criston Cole. They're going back and forth. Sir Criston Cole advises her. Her father knows. He's just deciding to look away. He gets caught up talking about how she's a spider draining her victims dry. Basically starts cursing, and then he realizes, oh, I overextended. And they both stop. He apologizes. And so she tells him something to the sort of like, decency has to stand for something, which I think it has more so to do with how she feels like things should be. I might cover that in another video as to why she has such harsh feelings towards Rhaenyra. But we fast forward now, and her son, she goes to see her son. Her son is standing in a windowsill and the ledge of a castle, rubbing one off, um, yanking, standing in the windowsill. Like, and I have questions because, like, any guy who's been in that situation knows that, like, you messing with your hydro pup. He's doing this in a windowsill. Once you let the cannon go, you get a little woozy. So all he got to do once he lets off is lean forward, lose balance, and he's gone. Like, where was your mind at for you to do that? That's one. Two, why are you doing it in the windowsill? Like, that's can just land on somebody below? Like, really? Like, oh man, I don't know. And he's butt naked. I don't know. I don't know what the hell was that about. But his mother walks in and she startles him, and luckily he falls inside the castle. And she gets on him for bullying his brother. And he pointed out that he actually lied and said that Rhaenyra's kids did it. She pushes more and he says, okay, yeah, I helped. I was in it. And so she tells him the dangers of how he is technically has claim to the throne. He says he don't care. He doesn't really care about the throne. And so she grabs him up by his face like, you need to care. You being alive is a threat to Rhaenyra. If something happens, she can just kill you. You need to care. I don't care what's going on between you and your brother, but you have to protect him and be a united front against Rhaenyra and her kids. So she's trying to groom him, and you might see a little side of this in a little bit before and a little bit later. I think this also plays into what happens later in a couple of scenes. But you fast forward, Daemon and Daemon's married Laena. Remember episode 5, they were dancing together at the hall at the end of the wedding in the wedding fest. Well, he married her. They're having a dragon race. They're racing the dragons to their keep. She blows fire at him to kind of slow him down. He goes through it. That is something else I'll discuss a little later. So Laena is now the rider of Vhagar, which is this dragon is massive. Looks like, I don't know, that damn near look like it's like the child of Ghidra. That is a big dragon. But they land, they're laughing, but later on they give hearing to a guy from Pentos, I believe. He wants aid because the Triarchy has now taken hold in the Stepstones. So when he took over the Stepstones from the Crab Feeder, he didn't actually completely clear it out. He took it over, he killed them, and they kind of left. Well, now another group has taken hold there. He's willing to pay for Damien to use his dragons and just completely do fire runs in the Stepstones to flush them out, kill them, and he'll pay gold. Now, Laena's against this. She doesn't want to do it. She's like, surely we can do something else. However, Damien decides he wants to give this guy ear, and she was holding his hand, but the moment he says that, she kind of lets off. She doesn't want to do this. So it fast forwards from there, and she later broaches him about the ordeal. Why is he willing to do this? You know he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't really care. So, and asks him if he misses being in Westeros. Now, she talks about how she wants to return home. She misses being home. And she does not want to spend her days old in this keep or just sitting here rotting away. How she wished to die a dragon rider's death. That's going to play a factor later. Keep a pin in that. But Daemon kind of brushes her off. And he was listening to her. He was rubbing on her stomach during this time. But then he turns back to his books, acts like he doesn't hear her, and then he kind of gives her a look like, oh, why are you still here? Even though she is pregnant and they already have 2 daughters, so this is good. This is looking to be their 3rd child. Now we leave from that. We got a scene of Sir Criston Cole. He's in the training grounds with both the sons of Rhaenyra and the sons of Alicent, and the king is overlooking on the balcony with the hand. And so he seems to be the Rhaenyra's kids are kind of off to themselves, just swinging around randomly, and he seems to be mostly just training Alicent's kids. Now, Sir Strong, Harold Harwin Strong, the one that's sneaking around with Rhaenyra, he notices his sons ain't really being trained, so he calls out Sir Cold on this. So Sir Cold comes up with this idea of the oldest versus the oldest, which ironically, if something was to happen, those would be the two people vying or jockeying for control of the throne, right? Now, you get this thing where, now, mind you, Alicent's oldest son is older than Rhaenyra's son. He's at least like 2 or 3 years older. He was born before the time skip. So he was like maybe like 2 years older before the time skip. So he's like probably like 12. Well, he's rubbing off probably like 14. If he's rubbing off one, probably 13, 14. And her son is like 10, 12 maybe. He calls out the fact that this is not a fair fight. And he's like, there isn't fair fights in war once swords are involved. So he starts the one-on-one. Now, surprisingly, little man for Rhaenyra's a G. He was winning. He was winning this fight against Aegon. Aegon was losing to Jack pretty convincingly. Versus Criston Cole gets involved. He's yelling at him. He's barking directions. Don't back down. Cut off his advance. Kick him. Push him down. Don't let him up. And he's like, continue while he's down. And just as he goes to strike him, Harwin grabs him because he's about to strike us down. And so he looks at him and he's like, "Are you grabbing the prince?" Like he like, yo, I'm not gonna let you sit here and kill my child. I'm sorry, bro. It's not going down like this. But you know, he tells him like, "What are you doing? This is not how combat works. This is not how training works." So he's like, "You know how you care for them? Like if you cared for them like a cousin or an uncle or like they're your sons." And Harwin loses it. He jumps him. He's beating the hell out this dude, and he's like, "Say it again! Say it again!" And you see Criston's is smiling. He didn't try to fight back one time. Everybody's seen it. It's in the courtyard. The king sees it, whether he acts it or not. That's different. So we'll see. Find that later. His father sees it. His father's the hand. Sir Strong is the hand. And so he's like, "That's what I thought." It was this whole ploy was a bait to bait Harwin into basically admitting or acting on the fact that these are his children. Rhaenyra hears that something has happened, and the escape tunnel that she found out is in her room. She uses it to go see Harwin Strong to find out what happened, only to overhear his father getting on him and scolding him about what the hell he's just done. He's just lost his job. He's been expelled from the from watch duties because he replaced Sir Criston Cole when he lost the position, and he's banished. And he's like, "If anybody finds out what you're doing, we're all gonna die. Not just me, not just you, your kids, the queen, we're all dead." And Rhaenyra hears this, and you see she's realizing the situation they're in. I don't know why the hell you didn't think about this at child 1. But she goes back to her room after hearing this. Right in time to see Laenor come in plastered. Dude is drunk as hell with his lover. He got a new dude. They laughing and joking. And she comes down on him because he's been kind of absent. He tells her, well, he's preparing. He wants to go to War on the Stepstones. He tells her about the War on the Stepstones now and how it's getting hot there, and he wants to be there because that's what he wants to do. He wants to be in the thick of the battle. She tells him, no, you're going to be here with me. He says, I'm not doing that. She said, there's a storm coming and we need to bat down the hatches and basically wait it out. He says, a sailor, we don't wait for a storm to come. We flee the storm. So she says, so she pulls the queen card and says, I command you to stay. So he's like, well, screw it. I'm stuck here. Whatever. We have another one. We're going back to Lena. She's talking with her daughter. Her daughter's concerned about, this is a thing here. What seems like with the Targaryens and the Valerians, having a dragon is everything. To these people, they are nothing without their dragons. So she's concerned because she doesn't have a dragon yet. Since she's saying that I'm guessing her sister has a dragon. You don't see the sister wear or ride a dragon, but for her to be so concerned that she doesn't have a dragon, and she's like 12, I'm assuming, I don't know. That's my guess. I think she's the youngest sister that they're showing. Lena tells her, I didn't have a dragon until I was 15. It takes time. Dragons don't have babies like that. If you watch Game of Thrones, you know that. What, it was 3 eggs. And unfortunately, all 3 of those dragons are dead. But doesn't seem like the dragons, it takes a long time for a dragon to hatch, give an egg. And if you remember, the eggs didn't hatch. The eggs were around for a while when Daenerys got them in Game of Thrones before they hatched. So I just think it's a long process, and she's trying to explain that to her. And then somehow she switches it to she don't think her father likes her too much because he don't spend no time with her. And she tells her not to worry about it. But this does prompt her to go back to Damien, who's on the rooftop looking at stars. And she once again is prodding him about why you don't want to go to Westeros. Don't you miss your family? Don't you miss your niece? Don't you want to just visit? And he's like, I don't miss nothing from that place but the wine. I don't really give a damn. I don't care. So this pushes, it causes a scene where she's like, I don't know what's going on with you, but you're not the person I married. You're letting yourself wither away. She says something that plays a big factor later, which is, I don't think that I might have been the wife you wished for, and that you may be disappointed in your life, but you can recover from this. She rubs him and leaves him soaking on the rooftop. She says she thinks that he sees her as not, that he didn't initially want her. And honestly, I think dude wanted his niece, so she may not be wrong there, but this plays a big factor later. And she didn't give him time to answer. When he called her name to respond to what she just said, she stops him and continues to say, you are better than this. You can recover from this, but you just sitting here withering away. We fast forward to a council meeting at the kingdom. They're talking about the rise of the Treyarchy and the Stepstones and how to deal with it. And the whole time, Alicent and Rhaenyra are jockeying for power. Every time Alicent says something or a suggestion, Rhaenyra cuts through with something. And if you really listen to Rhaenyra's counters, they're not fully thought out. She wants to fortify it. Alicent is telling her that it would drain that it would drain the kingdom's coffers. She comes up with another idea, and she would just easily say, well, if you were here, you would know that that wouldn't work. So this shows that Rhaenyra's probably still been absentee from the kingdom the whole time, which she was doing earlier. If you remember in the other episode, she wasn't really doing her duty sitting in those meetings, but Alicent, being the queen, was. Now, being frustrated with Rhaenyra countering everything she says, she calls an end to the meeting. This is big now. She's the queen. You don't find the queen calling the end to the meeting with the king right there. Alicent has already realized the weakness in Rhaenyra, and she's just calling. And he's like, "Yeah, okay, she's right." And you see the look on Rhaenyra's face. Everybody's standing up on the command of Alicent, and so she's like, "I got something I got to say." And so the king nods. Everybody sit down. Alicent doesn't. You get an amazing shot of these two staring across from each other, symbolizing that these two are at war. It's a little double meaning here. So her counter here is, she tells her, how about your daughter, Helena, marry my kid? And as a bonus, when Styx, which is her dragon, I believe, has a baby, will your other son, Aemon, can get the baby. And you can see that Alicent is pissed. However, Alicent looks down and she kind of motions towards Rhaenyra's chest, and you see that Rhaenyra's leaking. She's lactating because she just had the baby. And it kind of abruptly ends the meeting. So they're walking away, the king and Viserys and Alicent. He's happy. He's like, "Oh, this is a good thing, and your son will get a dragon." And she's like, "The hell he will. This is a ploy to get her little bastards back in line to hide her transgressions. I ain't doing it." She called them plain looking kids. And the king tries to fight, but she just storms off and leaves the king. Like, she realized he doesn't really have fight in him, whether it be because he's always kind of been this way, but I do believe the sickness has made him worse, and to where now she kind of, I won't say she runs over him, but she's flexing more power than I think she would have definitely before the time skip. Now, right afterwards, Sir Harwin's father comes in. He says, "I need to resign. There's some urgent matters due to something going on. I can't stay as your hand." Mind you, this is Harwin's father. So what he's talking about is his son is laying the hammer down in Rhaenyra. "You want me to lay the hammer down?" So the king is like trying to get him to say what's going on. "Why won't you tell me why you want to resign?" He says, "I cannot tell you, but it would damage everything, but I can't tell you what's going on." He says, "Well, then if you can't tell me, I can't let you go." And so the queen is like, "No, let him say what it is. Please say what it is," because she knows already. He doesn't. So the king says, "Well, okay, my lord, let me go back to where we at in Harrowfell. I'm gonna prop up my son since he's been banished. Prop him up as lord over my land so he can take over while I'm still here." The king grants it. Alicent is pissed because she knows that Viserys knows why the hell he wants to quit. She storms out. Now you find out that the person that she knows everything is the guy who she was talking to in episode 5. His name is Larys Strong. He's the brother to Harwin and the Hand's son. So that's his father and that's his brother that's going on with. He's been feeding her the information that's going on there. He kind of like the little finger of this episode, the true little fingers, and you're gonna see how bad he is in a little bit. So he goes, he talks to her. She tells him what happened. He tells her, well, you know, he can't be impartial if his son is smashing Rhaenyra, right? He can't be impartial. And so she's like, "Well, my father would." And he's like, "No, your father wouldn't be impartial either because you're his daughter." But she's like, "But at least he would be on my side." And he can't come here because of what they've done and these people still being around. He can't come back. He said, okay, I'll look into something and we'll see what happens. He's then seen, he is then seen gathering in a dungeon, gathering people who's condemned to death. And he says, well, if you can work for me, or we have the executioner right there, he'll kill you. All you got to do is just part with your tongues. And so they part with their tongues. They all get their tongues seared off. And he has his own little group now. We fast forward, Lena's in labor. And the baby's just not coming out. The doctor comes to Damien, who's standing in the doorway. He tells him, look, I've done everything I can. The baby's not coming out. He's not moving. Maybe we can I can take a blade to your wife. We may be able to save the baby. Now, Lena's looking up at this point. She hears what he just said. She sees what's going on. Now, Damien looks back at her with her head is down, looks away, shakes his head. What he didn't notice is Lena's already gone. Lena is then hobbled outside the house, limped toward the dragon, which is perched outside the castle. She's screaming at the dragon to Dracarys, and he's looking around like, what you talking about, human? He looks at her, he's like, I don't see nothing to burn. She says it like 3 times, and he looks at her, he's like, you want me to burn you? He's like, I'm not doing it. Well, I think Vhagar is a she, if I'm not mistaken. So she's crying and she's crying and she's crying. And she says it, I think, like 1 more time, maybe 2. But by the first time she says it, he looks at her and takes a deep breath. I think he realized either she's dying in the situation. And Damon has come out the house now to look at her, to try to find out what the hell is going on. Right in time to see Vhagar has completely flame broiled Lena and she's dead. Now, I've seen several people review this, and I've seen it be a topic of discussion. Several things people have missed. 1, she said she wanted to die a dragon rider. So she's kind of in the Rhaenyra spirit a little bit of adventurous. She doesn't want to die that way. I do think a lot of people know how Rhaenyra's mother died, that a blade was taking her. That is very common back in those times in kingdoms of C-sections and people desperate for heirs killing. Like, that's actual factual stuff right there. Killing their wives to bring the child out. What is a simple procedure, people still die from childbirth to this day. But what is a simple procedure like a C-section? Hell, I'm a C-section baby, to be honest. That's death. They had no way of sealing you back up and all that infection and all that stuff. That's death. However, if you look at what's been laid out before, and this is brilliant writing, if you look at what was laid out before, she said that she believed, she said it to his face, I'm not the wife you wanted. She didn't let him respond. She's had two daughters. Back then, having a son was everything. Even in certain cultures to this day, that's still a thing. So she also in labor, when the doctor said, do you want me to cut her open? He didn't say no. She didn't see that he shook his head. By the time the doctor said that, if you look at it, she's already up and she's going. She's like, I'm not going this way. I'm not going out like this. So but when we see him shake his head, she's already gone. And because a lot of people, oh, well, you know, a mother wouldn't do that and a mother's not going to die this way. She don't believe the dude love her. A lot of times the child don't make it. Viserys chopped his wife open, had her sliced open. The baby died an hour later. So she's like, I'm gonna go out on my terms. I'm gonna go out in Dragonfire. Now I do know that's not actual canon. That's not how she went, but they did lay the groundwork as to why she went down this path. She don't believe her husband loves her. The baby still might not die, and she doesn't want to die this way. She wanted to die in like battle. So, I mean, it is very interesting, but I do like the writing that is being written here. Now we're back at the castle. Harwin is saying his goodbye to the kids. He's rubbing heads. He's, oh, you're gonna be strong, and he's laying it on really, 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 really thick. And so it's like, ain't no way if anybody's in this room, you don't figure out that he loves, that his care for them is more than just, I'm a knight sworn to protect your mother. So as he leaves, she rubs her son's head and says, oh, well, don't worry. You can write him and you can keep in contact with him. And he looks at her and he says, is this my father? Am I a bastard? And you see like the fear in her face, because I don't know why the hell this dude laid it on that damn thick, but now her son knows he ain't a Targaryen. And so she goes to Laenor.
Oh, it's time for us to go.
And he's like, I thought you wanted to stay. So she retorts what he said about, I thought you said a sailor flees the storm when it's coming. Well, these rumors are getting stronger. They're mocking me in the halls. Let's go. We're going to Dragon Keep. He's still kind of pushing. Once she says you can bring your boy toy, he's very happy. He's fine with that. They pack up their kids and go to Dragon Keep. The last scene you see here is the Strongs going to Harrowfell. And you see the prisoners that we saw earlier that got their tongues cut out now sporting a firefly emblem on their hoods, watching them from a distance. You hear a very eerie speech about how warning children and heirs is the fall. It's basically hubris and his pride. And he's going on the negative parts of having kids, thinking that you can outlast time and you can survive, that once you die, you don't turn to dust. During this, you see that they've trapped Harwin Strong and the Hand in their castles and burned them alive. They're dead. So they've been just cooked. They're barbecued, fire grilled, flame broiled. Now, Larry Strong is sitting at the desk. He tells the Queen, Alicent, what's happened, about how they just happened to die by fire. She's shocked, but then she realizes, wait, you did this. And he says, don't act like you didn't want me to do this. Girl, I saw it in your face. This is what you wanted. I did it because I know this is what you wanted. Now go get your daddy and bring him back here. However, when it comes time for me to get paid, I better get what I want. And he's doing this all while smelling a red rose, and the screen goes to black. This episode is the strongest episode of so far. It started off slow, the series. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. I was not expecting this to have to cover this much, but everything here played a purpose for something. Rhaenyra's lack of caring for her role, the throne, has put her in a horrible situation. She does something stupid, like leave at the peak. At least her presence can suppress the noise, because if anybody says anything, she can go to her father and they'll get killed, or they can get banished like Otto was. But if you leave, all the support is just going to flock to Alicent. And, you know, you're actually confirming the rumors by leaving. and fleeing. This is the worst political move ever. Alicent, if Daenerys dies, the king dies, Alicent is going to, by the time Rhaenyra comes back for the throne, that whole kingdom's going to be against her. So, and Daemon, I think he did love Laena. But now that she's gone, it's going to be like a John Wick effect. I think the old Daemon is going to come back now, looking to cause hell because he got nothing else outside of his daughters, which I think his daughter, right, she don't really care for him. I give this a high 8, a 9. I cannot wait for the next episode. I actually wanted to, I think I've watched the episode a couple of times now. This is the best one so far from here. And I would love to hear what you think about this. I damn near did the whole thing. I mean, yeah, this is long, but if you liked it, if you stayed, I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave your comments below. What did you think about the episode? What are you looking forward to? Are you looking for episode 7? Again, this is Rivos the Wolf, and thank you, and you have a good day.